Hey, what's up? What's up? Rafael Cruz from Miami Strength Club. How you doing today? How are you? Today we're going to talk about in this live stream. We're talking about how and when to wear a weight belt. How and when to wear a weight belt. Let's make sure that the good people on Instagram, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in tonight. If you're gonna like this, if you like this, subscribe to our page and share this so that people that want to know how to wear and when to wear a weight belt can take advantage of this. So let's jump right into it. What is a weight belt? What is a weight belt? Well, a weight belt is a band of material, typically flat, 3 to 4 foot long. And now let me just reach down here and show you something. Let me reach down here and show you something. Here's what we're talking about. This is exactly what we're talking about here. This is a weight belt. It is about 3 to 4 something foot long, medium, small, large, extra large. It depends on your waist. Now, some of these things are made out of leather. Some of these things are made out of different blends of synthetic material. And they, on width, so just about the width right here from the top to the bottom, they vary from 3 inches to, or less than 3 inches to maybe like 4 inches or so, depending on which type of use you're going to give to the belt. Now, this weight belt thing is very controversial. When people talk about, like the gym, the bro science at the gym, or your CrossFit box, at your strongman, warehouse kind of thing. A lot of people have many opinions and information, and many information is good. Some information is maybe accurate, but sometimes misplaced, or misplaced contextually, depending on what sport you are practicing. So now that you know what a belt is, let's talk about what is a belt for, what kind of uses it has. Well, very, very simple. A weight belt is a piece of material that wraps your torso around firmly. It's not going to, strangulate your waist or anything like that. Some people use it too loose. Some people use it too tight. Most people use it right. But this thing wraps around your waist. Appropriately used, a weight belt is going to give your breathing torso, when you breathe in and you hold your air, it's going to give your torso something to brace against. Because we know that when you push against something, when muscles push against something, they get resistance, but that allows the muscles to brace even harder. It's the same thing, let's say, when you're warming up with a very, very light barbell and you don't feel like your muscles are working hard enough, but as soon as you put some more weight there during the warm-up, you start feeling your muscles working harder. So the same thing or the same principle applies to wearing a weight belt, which is your abdominal muscles and the musculature of the core has to push against this fabric, and you brace harder. Now, that's one aspect of the design for the belt. Another kind of advantage for the belt is that it allows you to stabilize your spine. Your spine, the bunch of vertebrae that you have stacked on top of each other that make up your spine are now stabilized. This is very important, guys and girls. This is very important because one of the misconceptions out there about wearing a belt is that, well, if you are wearing a belt anytime, almost anytime, that means that you are neglecting the proper use of your muscles, and that could not be further from the truth. Actually, the simple fact is that wearing a belt when your weights start getting heavy, and there are other occasions for that too, But when your weights start getting heavy, that it's just really, really healthy. And for the long term, if you are doing this for the long term, weight training, that's something that you're going to want to do. Now, if you're liking this, you can like this, follow our channel now in Instagram. You can go to YouTube at Miami Strength Club, and also subscribe to our channel. That would go a long way for us to continue to do this, and putting out good information for all of you. And I really appreciate that. Now, which athletes should wear a belt? Now, let's switch a little bit on the camera angle here for the other people. So, strength training athletes, if you are in a linear progression, if you are doing a 3x5, if you are adding weight to your training every session, every other session, or something like that, if you are pushing for max strength, let's just say if your program looks like you are doing sets of 5, if your program looks like you are doing sets of 3, and very close to 1 repetition max, then you are typically strength training for the short period or the long term. So you should have a belt in your gym bag. There's no question why you shouldn't, given the reasons why. We've explained now what is a belt and who should use it. Now, bodybuilders. I'm not a bodybuilder. I've never been. So I'll speak to this just anecdotally from other people's reactions and what I know from personal training courses and whatnot. I think bodybuilders should wear a belt every now and then for whatever kind of training they do. And this has to do with how much training it's happening for the athlete. And this is something that I want to talk about later on. Wearing a belt and stabilizing your spine has also to do with how many days a week you train, what the intensity, and let's say the fatigue you incur in each workout. Intensity means how heavy and how tired you come out of each workout session. That is a factor, in my opinion, when and how or why you should wear a belt. Olympic weightlifting, I think that's a very logical thing. You see Olympic weightlifters always train at some point or another with weight belts, and that is appropriate. Strongman, these people are moving tons and tons of weight per training, and I mean that literally. When you multiply 1 repetition times 10 times the many sets that they do, plus the poundage, the weight, they are literally moving tons of weight per workout, and that entails or that requires spinal stabilization. And I think that's not a trivial argument to be made there. So anyone who says that wearing a belt is a waste of time, or anyone who says that wearing a belt is something that neglects certain part of the musculature of the core, I really urge you, I really commend you on going out there and doing further research, maybe softening some of your biases. Just because you're good at it doesn't mean everybody else is, and that's fine. That's fine. We all have differences, but really, you ought to consider that wearing a weight belt is something really beneficial for you. Now, another kind of very, very, very popular training modality or sport is CrossFit. CrossFit, I think, has done the most for barbell training in the last 2 decades. I don't think there's any other sport that comes close in popularity, in growth in a short term, and in recognition, I would say, around the world, both from the competitive standpoint and also both from the exposure. Like CrossFit is all over the place in cable television, live streaming, social media, in your neighborhood. It's everywhere, all around us. And I think that is a a bunch of kudos and credibility that the sport has gained. But I tell you, a lot of the conversations that I've had around wearing a belt have come from the CrossFit community. I mean, are some of the CrossFit community friends of mine. I'm not pointing any fingers, but the thing here to highlight is that wearing a belt is a must when you are pushing weight. So we talked about strength training athletes, bodybuilders, Olympic weightlifters, strongmen, and also CrossFit athletes. I mean, the belt has a place and a point for everyone in that list. And of course, there's many people just regular trainees that are pushing heavy stuff. So here's my opinion. It might be controversial, but this is just my opinion. Anyone and everyone should wear a belt at any time, provided that they're using proper form for the particular exercise that they are, doing. I don't think that should be controversial, but some people don't share that opinion, and that's fine. If you have any thoughts, please put it in the comments down below. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment down below. And I hope that in a recent, in a near video, recent in the future, we can talk about those and maybe even do a follow-up. There are some exceptions when to wear a belt. If there is a clinical counterindication. I am not a clinician. I am not trained to talk about diagnostics or anything like that. So I'll just leave it. If there's someone that that has a diagnosis of some kind and there is counterindications for wearing a belt, well, they shouldn't. And that's that. I have no say on that, nor anyone who should be a non-clinically trained should be attempting to treat that or anything like that. There are some occasions where I've seen the belt harm or injure the athlete. Sometimes that has to do with the makeup of the belt. Let me get a visual on a belt here. Let me get a visual on a belt. Well, for example, this is a very, very soft belt right here. This is a very soft belt right here. When you wear this, it will brace. When it's tight enough, it will brace. But it will also bend and contour around the silhouette of your body. So this is one of my preferred training belts when it comes to just everyday training, because I know this is not going to just ram into my ribs or my hips, my hip bone, and start chafing and creating pain and creating wear and tear, let's say, on my skin, on my bones. There are some other kinds of weight training belt. This is a very thick one. This is made out of leather as well, but this is very, very thick. I hope that you can see that as good as I am trying to show you. This is, I think, what's called a double ply. This has two very nicely thickened layers of leather. Here you have something like the unfinished leather. And on the outside, you have more of a shiny, finished, something very beautiful, very well done. Well, this is very thick. And some people that wear this will find that it actually creates pain. In some cases, there has even been fractures of some of the lower ribs or bruising of the hip bone with that kind of belt. So I'd say if you're someone who experiences that, you're definitely going to have to do some looking around, or maybe send out there to make a custom-made belt for yourself. Just go out there on the internets and find out for that. There is another kind of belt that I haven't shown you, which is the Velcro kind. This is the Velcro kind. This is very, very popular because you can find it almost anywhere online and on brick and mortar stores. And this is a very popular brand. I don't endorse it, or I don't tell you not to buy it or to buy it. That's up to you. This has a very particular shape, as you can see. That is it designed with the purpose of supporting your back because it's thicker and has more fabric, and then the front is a little bit thinner with about 2.5 inches or so, maybe like less than 3 inches in its height. And this is very, very pliable. It's very comfortable to wear, and it creates some of that intra-abdominal pressure and support that we've been talking about for your spine. With that said, I think that when you wear one of these devices, you shouldn't be thinking that you're going to be harmed. I don't think that's the design or the makeup. I believe that some thought, at the very least, some thought has been put into the design of a professionally or commercially available weight belt. And I'm sure you can find one that is good for you. So let me recap a little bit. First and foremost, if you're finding this information useful, you can if you're in the YouTube, subscribe. If you are in any other platform, just hit like, and check it out. Check our platforms at Instagram at Miami Strength Club. We also have Miami Strength Radio at Instagram, and of course, Facebook and so on. Also, definitely go to Miami Strength Club and check it out. We have some information out there that might be helpful for you. Now, who should wear a belt? I think that's an extended piece of question. Some people say, okay, I already don't wear a belt for my warm-ups. Some people start warming up with barbells or machines and whatnot, a little bit of cardio, quote unquote cardio, to have a general warm-up, and then specific warm-ups depending on the exercise, with lower weights increasing into heavier loads, so that you can accomplish what kind of weight you have pre-selected for that day. However, I think anyone who is recovering from an injury should wear a belt at some point, but also pay close attention to the recovery of that injury. If it is an injury of the core, if there's some sort of pain or alignment issue, postural issue, let's put it that way, something postural, maybe some pain, some discomfort, mobility, impediment that prevents you from getting into the right positions, and that's why you might use the belt. Definitely pay attention to the remedial exercises that are going to allow you to have better mobility, better alignment, and better form for that particular exercise. I'd say that if you are doing regular training, look, if you have an 8-week template or a 12-week template, and you're just going about this in and out, definitely wear a belt when appropriate. And that means sometime after you finish warming up, or sometimes during the middle of the warm-ups when the weight starts getting heavier. I think that's a good rule of thumb to start wearing that belt, because you need more compression for your spine. Not compression, you need more intra-abdominal pressure built in to stabilize your spine. Now, I think here's I'd say a nuanced part, or a nuanced observation. Some people will wear a belt. They choose to do so when they are experiencing slow recovery rates. For example, if you are squatting, if you're following one of those programs that say, squat every day for a certain amount of time, and you're super sore, and let's say your confidence is not necessarily all there, I think that that's appropriate at that point. If you are able to wake up, I'm sorry, not to wake up, to train. If you're able to train that day, if you're able to work out, but you need a little bit more support, whether that is both from the mechanical aspect because you feel somewhat unstable, or also the psychological aspect of working out. Just making sure that, or ensuring from yourself and for yourself, that you are moving and supporting your joints and your back. Well, then I think there's a really good case for that. I know, for example, that some of the heavy squatters in the club, when they put on a 5x5 workout on pretty heavy squatting, let's say the next day they have to do some deadlifting. That's one of those days when they start wearing the belt maybe a little bit sooner. They might be somewhat sore or fatigued from the previous training day. And I think that's a-okay. Some people say, oh, why are you wearing the belt so soon? Well, there are good reasons. If you are not fully recovered, maybe you're not generating all the force you think you need to stabilize your spine. So who knows how to measure that? Well, I don't have a good way to measure that. So if you want to wear a belt for a little bit of extra, support there, I think that's a-okay. So long as you do know how to perform the exercise, as you know the technical basics of bracing your core, of postural alignment. If you have the mobility to do so, let's say if you're not too sore to get into a certain position, just because you wear a belt doesn't necessarily mean you are fundamentally bracing, using your muscles properly. So that would be, I'd say, a-okay. Now, I think that there are some training considerations. Once again, if we're talking about warm-ups, wearing your belt is an option. It's optional, I'd say. You don't necessarily have to wear a belt for your warm-ups. But when you are in the middle or through the end of your warm-ups, let's say once you are achieving 80% of your selected weight for that day, or in some cases 80% of your one repetition max, then that seems like a good rule of thumb there. We're almost wrapping up these guys, but when you are working and you're working sets, the very heavy sets, 80% and above of your 1RM, then definitely you should wear it. Belts, when training versus maxing out, that is a good nuance there. I already talked about, if you are just doing your regular training, at some point you do want to wear your belt. But if you're maxing out means getting your weights, loading your barbells and your exercises to a very, very heavy, your heaviest ever, what they call your PR, your personal record. You're definitely are looking into wearing a belt. A lot of people say, oh, you know what, I can max out without wearing a belt. And more power to you. But with everything that we've explained, it's well established in many sports, of barbell sports and any other modalities, that wearing a belt or something to give your core muscles to brace against will stabilize your spine further. So there's no reason why that should be a let's just put it this way. There's no reason why that shouldn't be a benefit if you are maxing out. Besides, it is let's say in competition of different sports, wearing a belt is okay and definitely recommended for most athletes, if not for everybody. So I think if competitive athletes get the point and they train in knowing that a weight belt is part of their performance, I don't think that that should be, so controversial per se. Um, Now, the last point here is training considerations. If you are recovering from an injury or have a little bit of lack of confidence for some reason, I have a story for you. Someone came in the club, trained here for about a year, and one of the big concerns is, you know what? I saw my friend have an injury right in front of my eyes, and he wasn't wearing a belt. So, what the hell happened there? When should I wear a belt? That was a very traumatic experience for him psychologically. Uh, he never had an injury, but he saw someone having an injury right in front of his eyes. So, with that said, I think those are one of the triggers per se that you want to pay attention when it comes to wearing a belt. Guys, I think that we've touched on many of the reasons of what a weight belt is, who should wear it, what it is for, which kind of athletes should wear it, and when to wear it and whatnot. A little bit of the controversial stuff, definitely not in any dramatic way, but I know that there are variations of opinions here and there, depending on which sport or which experience you have when it comes to training. My name is Rafael Cruz from Miami Strength Club. And if you like this, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much and have a good night. Bye bye.